Hello, Army. How are you? This is
Hi.
Living Bangtan 7. Thank you so much for being with us today. It is Army Day throughout the world. Woo! Thank you so much. I am Nisha with Living Bangtan 7, and we have an amazing group of panelists with us today from our admin team. I think it's been very rare that we've had the admin team on like this. I can't even say if we've ever had the admin team on. So this is going to be a beautiful experience today. So welcome, and we are going to be bringing you a very interesting and probably an unexpected perspective on Army Day. We're talking about the album Beyond the Story and how the chapters and the chapter titles represent the BTS wellness journey, their struggles, their challenges, and their milestones. And we've chosen three chapters. Look at me. I put up 5 fingers for three. That's not good. Wait, three. Three chapters. It was kind of random how it happened. And then we challenged ourselves to be able to create these dialogues with ourselves based on those three chapters. Today, we start with chapter 6, and that one is called The World of BTS. So, what better one to start with? So just intro yourself, everybody, and then we'll go into our intro reel. Start with Terry and then move over.
I'm Terry. I live in Minnesota, and I haven't been long with BTS compared to some of the others, but I met Nisha with Diversely Geek, our parent organization, and everything just kind of evolved from there. Took a lot of trips for Jungies, and now we're trying to sort out all the things that the boys have done for us over the last 10 years and what we can do for them for when they get out.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And Terry is our administrative kind of manager in the admin team for Living Bangtan 7, and actually my the research assistant for Diversely Geek, which is a very big role, very big role. And next we have Danielle.
Hi, I'm Danielle. I'm from North Carolina. I'm just like Terry, that I'm kind of new to being an Army. My sister is the one who introduced me to BTS and Denisha, so I owe her a lot, but I'm excited to be here and talk about all the topics.
Amazing. And I love your perspective, and you have a very strong background in communications, and you're helping us out in the role of creating our new moving forward communications plan as we blow up, hopefully, and glow up. So, and then Miss Lantu.
Yeah, hello everybody. I'm Lantu. I'm from Paris. I live in France. And I've been Army for quite a long time now because it's been since 2013, since the very, very beginning. It's a long and exciting journey. I've met Nisha in front of the Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, and we've been together since.
Yes, we have. I love how I gain family in this craziest of ways, right? It's the best thing. So thank you so much. And Lantu is actually the other part of me, but only on the French side of the world, and is hosting a version of this very show at 4:15 p.m. for French Army. And I will actually just be backstage on that one. So that's going to be pretty cool. Our first, yay, multilingual event. I'm so excited for that one. And then Miss Fleur.
Hi everyone, I'm Flor. I'm from Peru, but I currently live in Madrid, Spain. And I've been in Army since 2021. So it's a very short time, but I have a lot of great experience with the fandom. And I met Nish for Jungi's first day concert. So it's been 2 months of a lot of new experiences to me.
That's what happens when you hang out with me, my dear.
Yeah. And it's just the beginning.
And it's just the beginning. Right, Lanju. I mean, Terry knows that poor Terry. Okay, so we're thank you so much everyone for being here. I didn't realize we don't often have the opportunity, so thank you our guests for listening. We don't often have the opportunity to introduce most of our admin team. I'm very honored to have such a beautiful group of people from across the globe who just jumped 2 feet in to be able to help us bring our message of wellness through Bangtan to Army across the globe, and actually people across the globe, because what you don't know is behind the scenes. We are actually spreading this message in conventions and in other panels through their message, and it's actually being accepted. So someday we'll talk to you about that. Yeah. So let me play the opening reel and I'll talk a little bit about who we are and we'll jump into the show. Hang on.
We are bulletproof.
Man, I say it every single time. It hits me right here. Every single time. It's we're gonna go into the show, but it takes you immediately back, doesn't it, to that moment of where you were standing when we all heard that? It's like this, it just connects you straight back. I don't know, Danielle, did you get to see it live when it dropped?
No, I did not. But going back and watching it later, it was like, oh.
I think I screamed my guts out. I had a sound check that day. I was in row 10, but when it dropped, they, for whatever reason, I was standing in row 2. As weird as that was, I don't think I screamed that much in many of my years. So that was crazy. At that moment, as we lead into this show in chapter 6, that moment, I think, was a culmination and a crux moment for what chapter 6 is talking about. Because for me, chapter 6, as we moved into it, and from beyond the story, is from the titles, it looks like it's going to be that forward movement and propel in terms of their own, like them reclaiming their own story and them saying this is who we are. And that's how proof ended up being this huge representation of this in their entire 12-year journey, because it's not 10 years, right? It was 12 years. So I mean, what did you think? I'm going to jump, like I'm adding that for some weird reason. I'm going with the flow on it. What did you think that, if we're looking at chapter 6 from the book, which is the world of BTS, proof represents that, doesn't it? Doesn't that, like, the whole overarching? Hey, Tessa's here. Hello. Hi, Tessa. Anybody can answer, I know, and I threw you for a loop because I asked you something that wasn't on the storyboard. Yes.
Well, I think proof is, it's actually the somehow the, how do you say it in English? The storyline of their journey, and they said it. They said it's better to listen to the album from the beginning to the end,
Yeah.
songs by song by song, to understand what they've been going through and how they cope with everything, how they began to be successful, and etc. It's it's kind of a musical storyline of their career, something like that, I guess.
You're absolutely, because as soon as I saw it, it occurred to me, proof is the book. The book is the anthology in writing and in their stories and in the interviews, but proof is them taking that story and putting it into a musical story. Exactly
Yeah.
what you just said. That's like, how did I not connect those dots before? But I'm connecting it right now because I played it and I was like, hey, wait a second. We're literally
Yeah.
talking about. So I think maybe that's how proof as a storyline was created, right? Because it's following the same storms, the songs that are in the chapter titles.
Yeah, it does.
Ah, look at us finding
Yeah.
light bulb. That was a light bulb moment. My goodness. Okay. So let's go a little bit into our regular stuff. I digress. Y'all know me by now. So
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe what do we have planned for Army today, Nish?
So we have a lot planned. First of all, let's talk a little bit about the show. It's called The World of BTS, and we're talking about there's 4 phrases that we chose, but we may not get into all of them because just 2 of them were enough to do a whole hour show. It's I'm listening to you, speak frankly, life, art, sleep, 7 on and actually has a lot of conversation behind it. So, as a real quick sum up, we are LB7, and our entire model is about world building, creating safe and cathartic spaces for Army and anyone who needs to hear these words. For anyone who didn't have anywhere else to turn, a place for rest and respite, just like Bangtan has been for us. And Living Bangtan 7 is a platform the DG team created to bring you wellness discussions, content, and musings based on the healing positive messages of Bangtan Sonyedan. And of course, you know that the name means living bulletproof 24/7. And our purpose is to help us to learn how to live confidently with self love throughout the day, protected by the support and love of BTS and Army. And what better way for us to celebrate our anniversary than to talk about the love between BTS and Army in their own words? So, what are the things that we're doing today? 4. We listed. It's you.
Okay. Okay. So we're going to talk about this awesome gem called Seven. We're going to discuss the word and intention behind the BTS book, beyond the story as a love letter to us, and also about how the book can become a source of connection and support to Army. And we are also launching this amazing project, the LB70 or LB7 Long Year Project.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. We'll talk about those things a lot more in our last show, which is at 11 p.m. But right now, uh, I'm, I'm, we just have so much. I figured with the 11 p.m. would keep it a little open so we'd have some space and time to actually let Army know what we're doing as a team. And the 11 p.m. show is open discussion on the love between BTS and Army. So I'm excited for that. So let's see. Lanchu, I think you're up.
Yeah. When BTS debuted 10 years ago, I guess no one could have predicted their journey, both about ups and downs. So now we are in their solo period, and for 5 members, entry into the military service time is impending, unfortunately.
I know. Everyone noticed that Namjoon's hair is shorter today, right?
Yes,
Oh boy. I love that he's making the choice to just quietly and gently let us know what's going on. That's a good
it's
way.
so Namjoon.
It is so him. It's so
Yeah,
him that he chose to do it that way. I'm I love them all. They all know they know us so well. So I wish we had the book. The book is actually coming out pretty soon. I think Lanchu will have it before all of us. So yeah, we don't have it yet, right, Lanchu? Not yet.
no, I don't have it yet. I asked. I saw it. I saw it in the library next to my home. I
Mhm.
saw it, but the seller didn't want to give a copy. I'll be able to have it in a few hours.
Oh wow, for the second to last show, you might have it. Oh wow, I'm hoping we have ours. So we posted our first question, Army. We do have Army on multiple sites right now, but as you know, it's sometimes very difficult for us to see it here in Streamyard. So I'm sorry if you see me with my head down. You know it's me chatting in other places. So as a whole, as we launched into discussing Chapter 6, which has the word 7, the most implemental word, on and then what messages do we think we've been receiving from each you don't have to talk about each member solar journey specifically, but like maybe even as a summation. What are some of the messages that we're receiving, which is a lot? I think that's you, Lanchu.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there are a lot of messages. You're right, but as for me, the main solo messages are a sort of summary of the evolution, their journey,
Mhm.
their path of each of them, from being frightened at the beginning of their career and when they were trainees, their anxiety, struggling, and now at the end of this journey, they're finding their serenity and simplicity because thanks to their experience
Hmm.
and especially their self-love. I guess the self-love is a real message they're talking about. Resilience,
Ah,
self-love, and experience.
resilience. I love that.
Yes.
I love that concept. I think because when we live in this world, we all are living within a state of uncertainty and the challenges and the pain that come with that life, which we have all discussed in time. Oh, we lost Danielle. I think she was having a bit of a bad connection. And so, what that self love, how, I mean, it has shaped probably 20 plus million army. There are over 65 million fans, but in terms of activity, I think over 20, at least 20 million people. Mm, for me, I was saying that, and feel free to chime in, either Terry or Floor. I was saying that I agree with you, and I think that they are giving us a window to look within our own selves and see how we can, as our own selves, make changes that are best for us as army, but also as human beings. Because I was looking, you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Um,
Yeah.
I thinking that the song "On" actually is not just about them and their emancipation, but I think it's about ours as well. And it'll bring the pain on, uh, about being able to confidently look at that part of our life and say, I have a foundation or a balance to be able to overcome that challenge or at least face it, you know? Um,
Yeah, and I think it just occurred to me just right now that maybe being solo might give more courage to some of the army that are not enough confident right now. Because when they're seven, they're really strong. And maybe some may think that, well, they're seven and they're together. But when they're just alone, when they talk about their solo, the way they went solo, they all say that it was frightening. It was very difficult. They had to handle everything on their own. So it was something quite difficult, but they eventually managed to show something authentic and to show themselves to army. And I guess being successful as a solo is also in a way giving us courage to do the same.
Ah, so that's what, so then it's kind of what I was saying, okay, about looking within ourselves to find our
Yes,
own courage within ourselves.
yes.
Hmm. I think every day that I look at Cookie, I look at John's story and what he's doing and how he's made the choice to get himself to this place that he is now, where he was finally able to say to us, "I miss Jin." That's a massive step for him
Yes.
as a younger sibling missing someone so who's raised him. Um, we have to, to get to that space ourselves is a very difficult thing. So I get, yeah, 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 yeah. I love that. I'm wondering if most people would see it that way. I don't,
Well, it's funny
because
because I was thinking somewhat on the same lines because they're all of their solos are them, but them that we hadn't seen before. And
Yes.
so it's like there was always this part of them, but as a group, they had to function to set each other off, make each other look good, help each other get along. Now, if they're doing that, they're doing it behind the scenes because they'll say, well, I let J Hope listen to this, but I didn't want to let other people, the rest, listen because I wasn't sure what they would think, those sorts of things. So they're still relying on the rest of the group, but not in the same way. They're doing stuff themselves first and then looking for affirmation after because they want to show what
Uh,
they really are before they, spread it out.
so
Yes.
no, that's perfect. I think yeah, I'm totally going with that one then. The next question that we have is a very big question, but I'm actually going to hold on to that one, and we're going to do it towards the end if that's okay. So what do you let me so based on what we just said then, what do you think they mean by the entire we know, I think I have my concepts, but the concept of the phrase the world of BTS. There's I mean that I have 10,000 thoughts in my head when I see that phrase. So what do you think that they're talking about? I think Danielle, you were gonna
Yeah,
talk
I
about.
it has a lot to do both with their own worldview as BTS, like what it means for them, right? And I'm really curious to see what they write because our perspective is we see them perform, but what it's like for them, when they are performing and they are BTS, and just the significance that they have worldwide. I was talking with someone, the other day, and they didn't know anything about K-pop. They really didn't know anything about Korea, but they knew who BTS was because of their impact, which is like the world of BTS, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I also think it talks about the perspective of, or my thought, right, that what is for the BTS world is for us as armies, right? Because no matter where you're at, if you find an army, you find something to converse about. Even if like you may not be able to speak the same language like 100%, but you're like conversing. Like you see, Flora, I was actually in Peru. I was in the airport in Lima, and I saw a girl with a BTS shirt on, and I was like, oh my gosh, like
Yeah, that happens to me too here. I'm on the street, and when I see someone with something of BTS, like I like her. I don't feel alone anymore.
right, and it almost creates its own world within itself. I know, like for me, like my friends that are army, like when something happens, like when JK is getting ready to release Seven, we were all talking about, have you seen this? Have you seen that? And the people that had no idea are like, they're in their own world. What are you talking about? But it really is kind of like the world of BTS.
It is, because it's called the Bangtan, the BTS universe. When that entire soundtrack, only Army knows that soundtrack. There was just no way for anyone else to get to it. So Heartbeat has this just huge special place in all of literally our hearts, because it's their song to us about how we're their heartbeat and they're our heartbeat. That's for me, that's why I open it now with the BTS is about world building. They are. It's like a live RPG.
Oh, it is, especially with the game in the sun. You're building uh, little little word of BTS.
You're physically building it. Exactly.
Yes,
So in the
yeah,
song is going to be probably, I think, is in chapter 7, because I think we're working on 2019 to 2020. It's crazy. It's so hard not to.
yeah.
So
Sorry, I'm
hard.
sorry.
We knew that these conversations were going to be very difficult.
Oh,
So you said, Lanchu, that you thought that the world of BTS reminded you of Map of the Soul.
yes. For me,
Right?
Map of the Soul is an album that offers some guidance for living together and relating to other and the world at large. Um, it's a very meaningful album, and I think seven is the symbol of this world as a unity.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Yep, I agree.
And map. This is a map. It's their soul. It's BTS, and it's a map, and there's seven in it, and we're in it too. So
Agree.
it's yeah,
The,
all the
the
symbols are there.
I agree. I agree. I agree. Did everyone have a chance to see? Because we're gonna. That's I didn't. I'm not even sure how we're gonna talk about that, because that's in our chapter 3 show, is where we're discussing the Save Me. webtoon and we're discussing Map of the Soul, because that's actually where the concept came from. And then we get this culmination, or we get it's not an end story, right? It's an open door into a new story with Map of the Soul, the album. So we're looking at the drop of Map of the Soul album. When you went back and you looked at that album, because it's Map of the Soul Persona, Map of the Soul 7, what did you see as the crux point or the change in terms of them as Bangtan, and then in terms of us as Army? Did Was there something specific that you felt when you first saw it? I had a lot to say about this album. Did I lose everyone? Whoops, did I lose you guys? Whoa, what happened there? It was weird. We all went mute for 2 seconds. So Map of the Soul, as we're talking about, because 7, On, and are all directly related to Map of the Soul. With the Map of the Soul Persona and Map of the Soul 7, it was a huge forward movement in terms of them making decisions about, like I said, for me, On is an emancipation statement. I'm not. Everyone gets what that means, right?
Yeah.
Got
Yeah, I think the difference between the two is that they understood how to to do with fame. The shadow that was so scary before was kind of them. How can I say it? The shadow is part of them. Beginning with Map of the Soul 7. I don't know if it makes sense.
it does.
Yeah.
I'm going to grab a little statement from the actual album, and I'm going to post it in here for Army. Map of the Soul 7, the boy said, if you read the descriptors, I don't know, I have them here, and I decided to go back and do this show by looking at the descriptors and letting that be the guide. Um, it says that BTS talks about how true strength and love come from finding joy in the little things in life and reaching out to the world. And it was also a point in time where the members wanted to understand how that love was affecting each of them, but at the same time, had become the foundation of the relationship between us and them. And that's how they went about writing the story of the Map of the Soul album. And Persona had a very different story than 7, but a complementary story, because we have microcosmos in this in Persona. We have Make It Right, we have Home, we have Jamais Vu. These are all moments where they're looking at their own internal struggles and being very open and honest about them. I love when we're all deep in thought and everybody's like, that's a good point. Let's think about it.
Yes, it is.
Any thoughts on that, Map of the Soul? I mean, how did the connection to that?
Well, for me, Map of the Soul personally arrived at a moment of my life where I needed the most, because JOP in On will say that they are no longer afraid to push themselves anymore, and all that seemed to be a huge problem is now something that they can cope with. So as for me, it was also very significant in my life, because it gave me the strength to go forward in my job, and to and also to dare things that were risky when I first considered them. So in a sense, when they launched Map of the Soul 7, I needed this. Anyway, BTS always come when with what you need. So
Always, always.
yes.
I am going to add, we're going to go into the next question, and it's all based on Map of the Soul. So, what does and seven represent? So, I put them together, but really, and represents a lot more than this. However, I think we could lead the and for maybe a future show. Um, I was saying that, and thank you, Lunter, that led perfectly into the next statement. Several that for me, seven has always held a very special place in their hearts and in their motivation. And then by proxy, it actually held that for us because in my culture, the seven is a very strongly spiritual number, very spiritually connected to grounding and to some level of unity. So they are seven as one and one as seven. And as a whole, they're showing you that we can be seven parts of a whole summation and we can be one as seven in the sense that it is actually, even with all of the differences that they had, because they always said, I was telling Terry that they always said that in their, if they had never become Bangtan, they they were probably unlikely to have met each other, found each other, or become friends because they were so different from each other. But here we have seven full entities learning to diversely work together as a unit, and founding this strong fundamental pure love that just let the whole shows the whole world that we can exist in that way. And perhaps they realized that their souls were destined to come together at some point as seven parts of a whole dynamic engine for good and healing through their music. So when Map of the Soul 7 came out, I had already Wings had already had its impact on me. Map of the Soul 7, I feel like gave me an opportunity. So 7 and gave me an opportunity to do exactly what you said, to have forgiveness for my own self and my own journey and say, okay, it's love them and love them openly because they're actually helping to save you, if that makes sense. And and for me means that they are ready to acknowledge there is a next step or possibility or success and another and another. And for so many years, they didn't allow themselves to focus on their wins or capabilities. And I think as human beings, we have a really hard time allowing ourselves to focus or acknowledge that there's a possibility of and another, another place. So we didn't hear from Floor, Danielle, Terry. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm wondering if, that came out and they were supposed to have a tour and everything, and then COVID hit. So the thought process behind that, I'm wondering if I'm not trying to say it got lost, but I'm thinking that to a certain extent it got put aside as far as how strongly they wanted it to come off because they had to do other stuff after. So it kind of got put to the back burner until COVID was over. And then, all the things that have happened after, and we're like, gee, they really wanted to be resting after they did that. And we need to take a better look because there's more impact there than what we're seeing at the first look.
Mm-hmm. Yep, 100%. 100%. I think Danielle, you had something.
Yeah. So, I mean, kind of going off of some of what you've also said, 7 also for a lot of groups is like the number of completion, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I think if you think of it like this, of they've realized like they complete and complement each other, right? That they wouldn't have been able to get where they are without the other ones. And the and is kind of like, and's always a connector word, right? Like, I loved English growing up, even though I wasn't always great at it, but like studying it, and is a connection. So it's always, you've got this, so we realize we're complete in each other. So the and is now, how do we move forward, right? Like, what do we do going on? So, I mean, I'm excited to see what the and means because it can mean so many things.
Yes, I think and is going to be massive. As soon as we read this book, we're all going to be, anyway, I'll be in tears the second I see it show up in my Audible. I'll be like, oh my God, can I hear this word?
And don't forget that they say that the best is yet to come. So and is the probably the best to come, I guess.
I think yes, the story coming together.
Mm.
Do you think that Army has learned to allow the and to exist for them now? Because last year's festa, there was a huge amount of stress and grief because maybe Army wasn't ready for that and. But do you think we're ready for it now?
Yeah, I think we are because last year we thought that we would have nothing, just the end of something, and maybe 2 years without absolutely nothing, and the seven again. But they proved during this year that we had even more than usually with the
Yeah.
solo projects and everything. So I guess something we are reassured in a way.
I
And
love it. And Flora, what did you think? Because I knew this is new for you. So you came in after that era. So this must be very interesting for you looking at it. Yeah.
Yeah, I will remember um, that part of my life. I was like just getting into BTS, and I didn't knew any army back then, so I was by myself. Although I did kept quite optimistic when I saw they said they were on a break, and I was like, yeah, it's a break. They won't nothing bad would happen, but I don't know. When I got the news from Jing, I remember I just stopped working. I was like, I was in my lab and I stopped. I said, "Everybody stop! I need to read this. What's going on? This is not possible." But I think we have learned to understand their new journey. That we're going to be doing their solo projects, but they have shown us that they are also part of these seven, and and that's not coming to an end. And I don't think it will ever be. That's never gonna be like Jungkook said the other day.
Never, never. It's never going
Yeah,
to.
because when I see them together, I really see them like a family. I really see that true love, true understanding between each other. So I don't think they're gonna leave us ever. So I think we have became BTS and army like a you're like we have this bond that when they give us we give back. So
So show
I,
me, I'll show you. That's literally why I've always, I was like, the lines are beautiful, but he meant them purposefully. Because at the time they were writing Magic Shop and Microcosmos, and as they move forward, they already had a plan. The
yeah,
crazy thing is that chapter 6 was about that plan starting to happen. And then look at what happened. The universe said no. Let's do things differently. So then we're going to look really quickly because we're coming to the last 20 minutes at the next phase, and then I'll go back to what you were talking about with 7 after launch 2 towards the end. Okay. So now that we're talking about that, what does on as an on, and considering no is the other side of that, um, what does on then represent? How because when you go back to the boys and they list the songs, on still is in their top songs for a lot of reasons. And I think I said to you, because I thought it was an emancipation statement for them. I felt it was as if they were taking everything and brushing it off of them. Like they were like, we're good. We're trampling this darkness that's been holding on to us. And that's why that dance is so, it's not energetic. That dance is hard. So what are your thoughts on? Danielle, anyone else want to jump in? And then Lancho, I know you have something prepared for that.
Yes. So for me, on was kind of like at the beginning stage of when I became an army. So it's kind of one of that was the era. And so for me to see that, I mean, I think the part that just says, okay, like bring the pain on. Like, we had this pain and that's okay. Like I think they've learned one how to deal with it, which being in the public eye is such an impressive feat, right? Like being able to deal with all the things that come with that, but also saying, all right, like we've had it and just bring it on. If this is what it's going to be like, we can handle it because we have handled it.
Yeah, I agree with you, Tessa. They're certainly proving that wrong with the Take Two face. Uh, I I get what. Yeah, that's perfect. Gosh, I half of me wishes that they'd had the chance to let that manifest the way they wanted it to. But then in their life, when we look at the concept of on, hasn't it always been about things not working the way exactly like they expected it to? I don't think that there was a moment in their life where anything ever, as BTS, Bangtan, or as themselves, where things just happened the way they expected it to, right? So, okay. So on gives us that option. I know, Elantra, you had a good concept and thought about this.
Yeah, NO talk about their pressure and everything they were forced to do when they didn't want to. And on the other side, on is about perseverance and strength and all their journey and lessons they've learned. So for me, as an army, it's very inspirational, especially in my day life when I'm talking about BTS. Whatever people may think about BTS or racism and everything, it just on give me this perseverance and this strength to go forwards. And I've got this little French army organization, and because I usually, well, I often say that we are our history is like BTS one because we are a little association, and sometimes it's very hard for us to be credible. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway, we just keep on going forward, and in a sense, uh, at LB7 we are uh, also this way, very little, but little by little we just grew up the family, and we keep we keep being confident, and we keep uh, being ourselves. And I think it's very important. And on represent this also.
You made me think of the music video. It just
Yeah,
flashed in my head because that music video is about them starting in the dust and in the sand and in the dirt at the end of war. They weren't in the war; they were at the end of war. They had already suffered in the war. And if you think about the music video, that was a representation of that absolute, not just challenge, man. They literally they went through an emotional war zone, didn't they? You know,
yes,
they
yes.
really, really did. And I think people don't understand on a larger scale Bangtan because they don't understand that this is a music group of 7 young men who are under 30 and under, who literally representing what culture, society, and social constructs, what we have are challenged as people of color, for one, many times as women of color. I'm just going to bring it up because it's the truth, and how people, how our social our social constructs really make it difficult for us to be able to believe that there's an end, or that the end of that war is going to happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So I think when I saw that music video for On, I think it was this big, huge summary of them. It's kind of what I felt like. And then when they were climbing up the steep, they're just running. They're not climbing. They ran up that steep, steep, steep incline to get to the top. And it was the same bird from the wings. And
Yes.
yeah, I was like, how many people realize that that was the same bird? That's the same concept. That follow them in wings in Save Me. That's the same concept where they could see the end of a storm. And they were because there's a rising storm behind them, but then there's the sunshine in front of them when they get to the top. I mean, that is also their nerd selves and their and their Lion King moment, you know, because they love it so much. So, okay, I'm sorry, I'm talking too much here. Anyone else want to jump in on that concept? Otherwise, I think we're going to go into the milestones because we're in our last few moments now. And did we actually cover all of the words? I keep because we were going to go back and talk about mental health. So um how do you feel that Bangtan's attention to mental health has created a safe space for Army as a whole dynamic? Big question, and the core of us as a company. I'm going to post that question out for the audience too. So,
Oh,
I
I'll go
think
first
that,
then.
okay, go ahead,
Oh,
Lantun. No, go ahead.
oh, you can go.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, because of the fact that they were so willing to talk about their struggles personally, when you look at who everybody perceives them to be, this, well, I should say outside of Army, who the world at large perceives them to be a group of 7 guys who just sing and maybe don't have a lot to say about anything. Um, they become somebody that's representative of inner struggles that we all have, and they each have their own way of handling it, and they each have their own type. You know, like Jimin had struggles with eating. You know, Hobie. Everybody has their own thing that's happened to them, but they're all willing to say, "Hey, this has happened to me too. You guys can get better. We'll help you, and you can help us in the process."
oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you.
Yes.
That's so beautiful. I put this.
Yes, and I think that, well, it's quite old, but in the beginning, like in, was it with War of Hormone, when many people say that the lyrics were, how do you say it,
Plagiarize.
misogyny in French.
Plagiarize, yep.
Plagiarize.
Yes,
Yep.
and BTS was very intelligent with their reaction. They just said, "Oh, okay, we did wrong, but uh, teach us, teach us, and we'll do better next time."
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this attitude just showed the world and Army at this time that, okay, they're human too. They can do mistakes, and it doesn't matter. They can, well, they're like us, and just like you say, they have problem. They can have problem with alcohol. They can have problem with very many things, and they're just like us, like everybody. So in we can relate to whatever they've been through. So I guess it's part of what made this space safe for us.
So the first two phrases then was "I'm listening to you." So I'm listening to you. For me, does that kind of correlate then to creating that safe space? Because
Sorry.
it's I'm listening to you speak frankly is actually the one phrase we didn't talk about. As weird as that
Yeah.
sounds. But actually I correlated that phrase with mental wellness.
Yes.
Does
Yeah.
that
Yeah. Sure.
does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yes. Yes, it does, because BTS always speak about loving yourself, being true to yourself, uh, living with your past selves and current self, and never giving up a dream and everything. So this impact uh, just allows you to be true to yourself first, and to everyone around you afterwards. And this makes whatever haters may say, or as for me, as I'm more comfortable with when I'm with Army, so I can talk with you. I'm even if I'm not fluent in English and so on, I can talk to you with my heart, and I know nobody will judge it. Um, it's a heart to heart conversation that I can have with Army and BTS.
I love this statement by Tessa. Thank you so much. Helping normalize and break down the stigma by genuinely presenting their own struggle and open discussion to Army. 100%. I'm listening. Speak frankly to me. I think for Floor, you had a comment, and then Danielle, and then we're going to go ahead and work on closing up.
Yeah, I'll go with what Tessa said. Um, for me, mental BTS has been great support talking about mental health and normalize what it means to live with that kind of diagnosis in your life. Even though I know what it means, I'm surrounded by people who knows what it means, but
Right.
I found myself surrounded by people who said to me, they even said to me once, you said you're depressed, but you just want to give pity to us. Stuff like that. I mean, I'm talking about people who study about mental health, who works with mental health. So, and for me, BTS, when they talk about their own struggles, I found myself like someone understands me deeply. Not on the clinical side, not on your family who hasn't they love you, but they haven't gone through that. But someone that doesn't care, that there is no shame, there is nothing. They just say that. And for me personally, well, that was I needed to hear. I didn't. I didn't need to hear. It's gonna be okay. I didn't. I didn't. I need
No, those are
someone to
not.
tell me it's okay. It's okay. That's it. And that was something that I wanted to say. They gave us this space to talk about our own mental struggles. They talk also about their themselves. They understand us, and sometimes they can give you this light to keep you going. And with this, and on the other side, we also have army, and with army, you have also this space and someone to with you resonate about all of this, and there is understanding in that too. And I'm really happy for this. This is very huge to me. It's a huge subject to me.
Thank you. Oh, that was so. Yeah, sorry. We just get lost in what everybody says, you know? I am sorry, Army. You notice we're having more pauses. It's because this is some very, very deep conversation. And everything that everyone's saying, I think we're all stopping to go to reflect. And I think that that's beautiful, actually. Um, because I think everyone's touching each other's hearts a lot right now. So I think you had something, Danielle, to share, and then we're going to close up with the milestones, Terry.
Okay.
Kind of just in the same lines of what everyone has talked about, like because they've been so open with their own struggles, it's kind of helped, I think, with the taboo that surrounds mental health in a lot of places and cultures. And for so many like years I've heard, okay, if you struggle with something, just don't talk about it. Like, and it actually, they're like, no, you need to talk about it because that's one of the things that helps you. And also dealing with mental health like in a healthy way, right? Like, okay, you're struggling with depression, okay, so how do we walk through this? You're struggling with whatever it might be, right? And they've created this space of where whatever it is that you're struggling with, there is a way to, it may not cure it, but it'll help get you through it. And let's get you through this. Let's, there is like they even talk about a reason to live. There's a reason to be here, even if you don't see it, because you are important to so many people around you. And they've created kind of this environment for us as Army to be like, all right, even if I don't see it, there are people that care about me. There are people that love me. Like even within Army itself, like I can't imagine if I have another Army friend who's dealing with something, how I couldn't be there to help them. Like, even if I don't know them, like, your army, okay, what do you need? How can I help you? Do you just need me to be there? Do you just need me to sit there? Do you need to talk to somebody?
Yes.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yes. Yes. That's exactly it. That is it. Oh wow. I I don't think I have a question so much as a thankfulness and a gratitude. Thank you for saying it out loud. Um, the catharsis that we find as BTS Army. And I do mean the stronger fold of BTS Army because I mean there are people who don't have to be as connected. Please don't feel like you have to be, all in. Just love them in the way that you love them. Connect to Army in the way that you feel comfortable connecting to them. But understand that exactly this statement from the 2019 paper interview, when things get tough, look at the people who love you. You will get energy from them. And then from BTS. This was in 2019, which is the space that we're talking about, 2019, 2020. This was the message that they wanted each of us to know for ourselves, that the people in the space that we've created, that safe space, there, that's our safe haven. And that is what Make It Right was about for me. The concept of making it right, remember the song, and how they were the cloak that covered and kept the friend safe and warm, even though they didn't know they were there, they didn't see them physically, that they were always present as this guardian and this guide. That song is who they represent to us and who we represent to them. But then by proxy, it's who we represent to people in the world around us who may not be, Army, but still, right? So, yeah, that's why. Ooh, okay, that was a good one. Yay! Oh my God, that was so good. Okay, whew. Now I'm emotionally verklempt. I'm really totally on this right now because while you were talking, I went back to read the Map of the Soul and Persona and the album tracks, and I realized that Persona was one huge foundational statement of love is something that's universal, and then it's an absolute thing, but it begins with yourself because we have persona, we have ego, you know, but we also have Dionysus where they're saying it's okay to tell the world who you are. It's okay to celebrate who you are. It's okay to exist and believe in who you are. That's part of your and. That's part of your emancipation statement that leads into on, Celebrate who you are and believe in yourself and get drunk on it if you have to. Just as long as it's healthy for you, right? Because Dionysus has that like, I mean, I think about it, that album a lot. And like, why did they choose those songs for that album? So, okay, my dear. So we're gonna close up. Terry, there was a couple milestones in that era. We've talked about a lot of them, and you want to just read through those real quick?
Sure. Records by other artists are now being broken in large numbers by BTS. Records that have been held for years by others are now theirs. Special presidential envoy for Korean culture and future generations. And they have been asked to extend their Love Yourself, Speak Yourself campaign by the UN. AAN HPI White House guest speakers on the importance of cultural diversity and inclusion. Their message that their acceptance in the industry is an uphill battle, and we may look and sound different, but we are all the same. We are one. The BBMAs, the AMAs, and the Grammys. How did this change their world's perspective and world's attention being placed on them?
So it's an open-ended question because we realized that was a crux point for them, and I think we're going to get their answer in the chapter, in the next chapter. But also, I think it's an open question because to this day, they're all like these normal everyday guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're like the guy next door is sitting having a beer and having some tteokbokki, and they don't even care that they're these massive celebrities. Who cares?
Mm-hmm.
They have never changed. That is the promise I think that I hold on to the most because I don't want to be any different than that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I want to be that person that holds on to my integrity and my ethics, but also just pure love and absolute love. And I talk to you guys about that all the time in the chat. It's even when things don't go okay, I look at them and I look at other people that I believe in, like Halsey or, Beyonce or I have a lot of fandoms that I love in this world. And I look at them and I'm saying, well, who are we? And who do I need to be in that perspective? So, okay, so we're going to bring this lovely show to an end because we have to get ready for our next show, which starts in a few minutes with Lantu, which will be in French. Just remember that we have our Living Bangtan is launching an Army Day project. We'll be dropping it on all of our websites and our social media sites now. It's going to be testimonies of the impact and influence of Bangtan in our lives, in our mental wellness journeys, and the influences of the digital content and how they become supportive for us. So look for that. That should be dropping in a little bit. And we are going to just go ahead and probably say bye because it's time to say bye. I'm so sorry, everybody. That was such a good conversation.
Yeah, bye, everybody.
Good. All right, I'm going to play our little 10 years with Bangtan reel really quickly, and then off we go. 아무것도 생각하지 마. 넌 아무 말도 꺼내지도 마. 그냥 내게 웃어줘. All right, Army. Apa Bangpo, Borhe, love you.
Yeah.
And we'll
Happy
see you.
birthday!
Hey, woohoo! Deishuka Amida. Oh, I don't have the birthday thing with me. Darn it. You remember how I played it for the festival?
Yes.
Deishuka Amida. There we go. Okay, we got to run because we got to get ready for the next show at 4:15, which is coming to you in French. The next show after that is actually at 5:30. Oh, see. Flor, you want to answer? Sí. Esta pregunta. En una otra. Tell her in another show we're going to be doing it in Spanish. Absolutely. Oh, you're on mute.
You're muted.
Hola, Alex. He's saying hi. That's all.
Sí. Oh, I was wondering. But yes, Alex, in the future, we are going to be doing shows in not just French. We'll be doing our shows in Spanish. We should be doing them in Korean. We should be doing them in also, hopefully, Japanese. So look forward to our rollout over the next year. Cuando se viene a España, saludos desde Madrid. Ah, sí. Okay, I'll see you.
Bye.
Now I'm coming to Madrid. You see, you invited me. It's going to happen. Next year when I go to France, we also go to Madrid. Got it.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, bye, honey. All right.
Bye, everyone.